Well, hello. Let's get start. Ooh, let's get started painting. So, here's my photo. And right now, this is just a depressing looking site. You know, we got those two dark brown spots on here. We've got masking and just dull dark gray, and it's just depressing. Let's face it. Okay, so one of the things I want to see though, I want to pull this masking up here, maybe at the end of today. Uh, but I need to get my darks dark enough in here before I do that. So, because I'm anxious to pull it up because I'm not quite sure what it's going to look like. Uh, that's a thing with watercolor, and we don't always know what we're going to get, which is more fun, isn't it? Tell me it is. Okay, so I'm going to look at my gray here and my gray here. And this gray is still a little bit darker. I think what I'm going to do, is I'm going to go ahead and get some of these brown spots in, and then I'm going to darken some of this. In fact, you could see some of the brown spots are down in this area here. Which is really nice because that makes this area extra dark, which makes the grasses stand out more in front. Because just the shape and the activity of those grasses is really attractive. If anything, I'm thinking about keeping them a little bit lighter than what they are here, maybe more of the straw color, just to make them stand out a little bit more. So I'm looking to make sure, yeah, everything's showing up on camera. I should have said on camera, on an iPad, whatever. So you could use your flat, or you could use your round, either one. What I'm going to do is, I'm not going to differentiate. I don't know if I talked about this before or not, but I'm not going to differentiate much. See, there's a black spot and a brown spot and a black spot, and that's kind of brown, and and the face is the face has actually got some brindle markings in it. I think that that's actually going to detract from the punch, the power that you see like in this little value study. So I'm going to simplify that some. And I have burnt umber, and it's pretty concentrated. In fact, it's been sitting in this, getting kind of dry. I think I'll add a little water to it. Let's see what we've got here. And then I've got a little indigo over here, which looks more like black. I'm going to mix a little indigo into this brown, just a little bit, to just kind of take a little of the red out of it. Okay, so I'm going to start over here on the head. Wow, that's pretty dark. Or it appears to be pretty dark right now. Remember, this is, when you put a wet dark down, it's kind of hard to tell what you're going to get. Now you notice I'm not leaving light areas on this because I kind of changed my mind how we're going to do this. I know that's rotten of me. Wait a minute, I can't keep talking while I go around this nose. It's a little bit lighter because I have this habit of starting to paint right over the nose if I'm not thinking about it. All right. And then the other thing that we're doing here is that for right now, we are merging this side of the head. We're merging the side of the head with this big spot over here. I'm going to treat the horns a little bit separately. It's just easier in part, but it might be a better thing too. I'll show you as I'm working here. Okay, and there's my masking that I'm running into. The color of this masking kind of bothers me. The PBO used to be just a nice, about the same value, but it was gray. And they decided, in whatever fit of brilliance, oops, you know, you might want to take a little brush around the edge of the mouth, just because you kind of want that shape to be pretty exacting there. Okay. Anyway, whatever fit of brilliance, they decided to jazz it up a little bit and make it brighter blue-green. Well, what that did was it makes a lot of the things that go down beside it look extra dull, which our gray cow so far, our gray next to this, just looks dead, because it's all relative. Oh, I forgot that little spot over there. Well, I'll leave a spot here. There, we have a twinkle. Oh, the other ear. So I left and then forgot to mask out this little tiny open spot here between the ear and the horn. Listen, there's really not much of one. I made it bigger on mine because I wanted to, but then I keep forgetting to make use of it. So you can see that I'm working very, very juicy wet. Okay, that's good enough. And by the way, I had inked around the eyes. I don't remember if I talked about that last time, because I'm doing live classes too. And so I can't remember what I said where. Okay, so I'm doing a little bit thinner mixture here on the horn. And I'm just painting all the way up to the masking. Again, this is a place where you could decide to use a smaller brush. This is going to get some lifting and some pinks, put more pink put in it. It's got a little bit of pink, but it doesn't have enough, I can tell now that I've got the brown down. And because I didn't wait for this other area to dry, I'm probably going to get a run back in here, which is not going to concern me in the least. I might even like it. So, you know, sometimes I have to turn stuff in order to... Whoops, that's a little darker than I wanted. Sometimes I have to turn stuff in order to be able to control my brush the way I wanted. Okay. So when that gets dry, we're going to start working on the nose too. Let's come down here and let's start. I traced some of these spots and some of them I didn't. And I think there's one or two there that I kind of made up. But I went ahead and put it down here. So I'll pay attention to it. So you can see that I'm working very wet. I mean, it's just standing with, you know, it's just this standing puddle here. And I am, it's all flowing together nicely so that I'm not having to overwork it. You know, I've been cautioning people about overworking a lot here lately. So I need some big spots, I need some medium-sized spots, and then I need some little bitty ones. And they shouldn't be equally spaced. Some of them should be further apart than others. I didn't get these spots in the same place that nature did. But nature could have done what I'm doing. As long as it doesn't look like fence posts, like it was planned by a human, it'll be pretty good. This leg actually comes, something's further down there, but I've got that part of mine covered up with grass. Okay, but I want these dark areas down in here. I mean, we could have a big solid spot there for that matter. Oh, good. Let's put a big solid spot there. This is your cow. You can make it any way you want to, just like you can make your happy little trees. All right. I like the pattern there. Oh, here's a place on the lake, I guess. See, I put that brown on there really heavily because what we're going to do, instead of just putting darks in here, we may put some darks in, add some darks in, but we're also going to just do a little bit of lifting. Now, I don't want to give the impression that I approve of, oh dear, I have to think. Wait a minute. I don't want to give the impression that I approve of something. Oh, of lifting your paintings, of doing a lot of lifting on your paintings. But when I'm putting this heavy burnt umber in, burnt umber is so easy to lift, and it makes such a natural looking highlight on there. It almost looks like, what do you call it? Do you call it hair on a cow or fur? Neither one. It doesn't sound right. Anyway, it looks kind of natural. So I thought that we would lift. And it's so much easier. But because it's just small spots, if you lift a bunch of big spots and stuff, trying to make shape by lifting, that can look pretty contrived and not necessarily good. I had a really bad experience one time with trying to do fix a whole lot of a painting by just going back and lifting it, and it was ugly. Ugly, ugly. Oh, so she's got a spot on her butt, and then this is her tail. Oh, y'all see this? She's got a spot on her butt, and that's her tail. Oops. I think I painted this a little higher. I mean, drew the spot in a little higher. And you can see, well, actually, I've kind of made a mistake there on the leg. I don't think anyone will ever know. So maybe a few little dots here, and then we need to have a spot that's not all spots. You know, something that makes this a little more random. Now, I wouldn't put these in until I've got this nearly as dark as I need. And you're going to see later, I have this brilliant plan. Well, we'll find out how brilliant it was. Okay, let's leave some open area. In fact, I may have overdone that. I think I'd like some of those to be a little darker than what they are. Okay, we have worked on this, and on mine, the area that is near the mouth is now dry. It's still wet up in there, but it's dry right here. So what I want to do is I'm going to start shaping the nose. Now, I had put some masking right along here to do that little highlight, mostly because I thought I'd forget about it and mess up. You know, sometimes masking's just good for that. Or maybe you just got an area that you want to be able to concentrate on something else and not get distracted. So here's the thing, that is a highlight, and this is gray, and you almost have an outline around here. In fact, you can kind of see a similar thing on the calves. See that one right there? Let's see if I can hold it up here enough. See right around here and right around there. Okay, so what we want to do, this nose is pinkish, brownish, grayish. It's all of that. So we're going to put in a little bit of brown. And you can see that I've really thinned it out. And I'm going to pull that on down here. Of course, my masking is going to take care of some of that. So that's a beginning. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. So we've got this. This is all drying. So let's come up here and let's look at this calf. Let's see if I can get him here like that. Trying to pay attention to where this is showing up well. Okay, so you can see I know I need a better setup for I'm happy with my iPad, but I'm not happy with the positioning of the iPad. And since it's an iPad, that's a problem too. They make things, but maybe they don't make the right thing. Oh, okay, so we're going to do this little calf. And we're going to mix color for that. And I haven't done that on the... set this aside for a minute. I have not done this on the video. So hold on a minute. He's a really pretty golden color. Now, as I remember it, I assigned it to y'all to mix your own. You know, test out some different colors. I'm just going to show you what I mixed. You may have something better. And I'm good with that. So how about a little Quinn Gold here? Because he's kind of a... Oh, maybe it's a she. Because it's really pretty. It must be a she. Okay, so you can see kind of a golden reddish brown. You know, it doesn't hurt to describe a color. Because sometimes when you do, I just said golden reddish brown. Well, I'm going to use Quinn Gold, and I'm going to use a red, and I'm going to use a brown. Duh! Okay, so here we have Quinn Gold, the most glorious paint on the planet. And I'm going to take permanent brown, which although it's called permanent brown, it's really, in my opinion, pretty much a red. It's as much red as it is brown. There, I'm going to take some of that. Let's get a little more out here, just in case. And then let's take a little burnt umber. Remember, only use a flat to get your paint up like that. Oh, and now that we're on into the video, I'll remember to say that you really should have pre-wet these paints, because we're working with kind of rich color. Anytime you're working with rich color and you have pre-dried paints, you want to wet them down, and you could leave the lid on and wet them down and leave them for 30 minutes or an hour or something. Okay, so maybe I've got enough paint here. Let's see what we have going here. So I want some gold, but, you know, I don't want him to look, look gold. So let's put some reddish brown in with that. Let's put a little, ooh, very little burnt umber in. Let's see what we got. So I need to look at this on a scrap. Well, that's not gold enough. I think, okay, even though I need to thin it down. Let's see, thin down. Oh, darn, that's pretty close. I was wrong. That's all I needed to do was thin it down. Okay. Now you could almost do this one without softening any edges if you wanted to. Let me move this. Oops. This probably is not the best camera for this job, but it works, and I'm relatively happy with the color. The color I get from the camera is what I'm trying to say. Alrighty, so I'm going to take this really thinned out paint here. You could take a pencil and lightly draw these areas in first if you wanted to. So anywhere that's not white, you know, that's got tan or anything on it, I'm going to put this color in. Because I'm going to layer her. And I want those little white rims that are going to be around the ears where the light's shining on the hair from the back. Let's see. There's where I might soften an edge. Yeah, I might do that. So I'm going to paint around this little spot right here. I'll paint around that, and if I miss a little bit and get it off a little bit, you know, it's just a calf with different markings, right? So and see, this is wet enough that it's not drying before I can come back to it and finish off an area. Okay. I really think that it would be okay. I think I'll do that. I really think that it would be okay to have those hard edges there. It's fairly light, the calf's at a distance, and you know, it's got pretty decisive looking markings on it, just like cow up here does. So this is actually pretty easy. Now, I did not mask along the edge of that leg. Kind of wish I had. And over here, that one's got a little bit of a shape to it there, like that. Kind of leaving a bit of white area there. Okay, so let's go back and let's get the extra water off this brush. Remember how we kind of wick it out there? Because we want to get most of it off because we're working with a small area and this paint's probably started drying. Oh, it's perfect. See, I could just soften that edge. Oh my goodness, that was really perfect. It was an accident. It wouldn't normally, I wouldn't expect it to work out that well. Let's just soften that edge too. Or not. Okay, so I might just watch that a little bit. Kind of want a little color on it. I don't want it white. Oh, there. That's really good. Hey, Ann, you did that, didn't you? Okay, so little calf back here is a slightly different color. In fact, it's white, isn't it, back there? It's got spots. Okay, well, what I don't want to do is a bunch of spotted calf. Spotted cow is enough back there, the spots here and the spots there. That's just gibberish. Uh, I'm not saying that you couldn't do it. I'm just saying that it will lower the impact of your painting. So again, go back and look at your wonderful uh, value study, and you can see it's really got a lot of punch to it. And one of the reasons, mostly it's about value, but also it's not broken up with a lot of tiny, tiny texture. This is enough texture. Of course, this is going to be a little larger. We can put a little more detail in it, but we want to be careful. So here's the thing. I want to change colors from this calf to that calf. That'll help that calf sit back there. And this one is, see, these two are a little more brownish, and that one's the golden one. Golden calf. Oh. Okay. So, I'm trying to avoid running to the hairdryer. So, is this dry? It is dry. Well, ish. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to pull a little more dark grays down here. Here we go. Of course, even as I'm showing you this as an example, you'll notice that I've got dark grass over a lighter cow, so on and so forth. So, oh, I had a suggestion. I had a thought. Now, here's a good place to try it out. This has got a border along it, which I really like, and then poof, nothing. I don't want to overdo it and make it look ridiculous, but it might be kind of nice to have just a little bit of foliage right there. I don't want to run whole foliage all the way across like a border, but we're kind of suggesting a border. See, that kind of captures something. I prefer that. But see, that's another thing that this value study is good for. Alrighty. So what I'm going to do is go back to, well, this is sort of my gray, or brownish, grayish something. It should work. I'm not being real picky about it, but I think that I want a little more dark down in here. And this is a lot thinner and wetter. I suppose, if I wasn't so lazy, let's put a little color over here. So when I'm talking about being lazy, I'm not mixing up a spot with all that I need to. And don't think I haven't noticed y'all doing this too. So don't say anything. I'll have to prop this up so it won't run over into there. Can y'all see that? Sort of. Okay. So now I've got a little bit more of a gray. That would be too harsh looking there if I don't soften some of the edges on this. And I could do it by blotting too. At the same time, it doesn't have to fall in there just perfectly. In fact, it probably looks a little more natural if it doesn't. I've noticed this area right up here, which is in back of the shoulder and before the rib cage, or chest, I should say, is a little darker right there in the middle. In fact, I could kind of pull that shadow out this way. I've got to be real careful because this brown will run into it. And, oh, I found a spot that wasn't dry. And then you remember what we just did. Remember, we bleed the excess moisture out of the brush, but we don't touch the tip. The tip will just have a tiny bit of water in it. And I can soften those edges there. Maybe give it a little more. Well, that went over too far. Let's just blot it. Just give it a little more depth in that area. In fact, I think I'm going to take some of the stronger color and drop in right there. And I wasn't going to get caught up in this much detail. But that area really does help give the cow some structure. The other place that does that is right here. Now, I didn't do a very good job of drawing this, but you see this place right here, and then there's that bony hip bone right there. Okay, so I want to work on those a little bit too. Let's make this a little stronger here. And right up there. That's so easy when you got masking up here. And we're probably going to just lift and soften a few of those edges after we pull the masking up. So when you're working with masking, if you think you might need to soften some edges, think about whether you want to use a staining color or not, because you might want to do some lifting to make it look more natural later. That looks pretty good. Now the thing is that can be a little bit deceptive because it's next to this masking that's got this color in it. Oh, let's darken that tail. So again, areas like this is the top of that back, the front of the back leg, if that makes sense. So you can see I'm coming in here and softening some of these edges. If a little bit of the brown bleeds into some of that, it might actually look a little more natural. Or not. I think I want a little more shadow right up there. That's probably enough. You know, one could get carried away with this. I think that needed to soften this edge some more here, because that was drying with a rough edge on it. You know, sometimes you need to watch these things until they actually start to dry. There, now that's pretty rich, and you can see that some of the spots are merging in a little bit. They're just not fighting with it quite. They don't feel like they're just laying out there flat on the cow. So let's see, the nose is drying a little bit. So let's give the nose a little bit more color. Let's now add in, oh, here's a shape, right? Oops. Where you can see. Okay, here's a shape. There's almost a line down the middle of the nose right here. And then it's almost like there's a little triangle shape right there and right there. And all of this down below gets darker. Yeah. And one could go ahead and put a little of that color in the nostrils if you want. We want to be careful not to get these nostrils too dark. Remember, we don't want it to look like a piggy nose. So I think I will soften this edge here just a little bit. You could do that, but you know, if you left it not softened, it would probably work just fine. Okay, that looks pretty good. Well, I was hoping not to make this video too long, but I haven't gotten much done, so we'll keep going. Oh, so, you know, maybe burn umber here on these little other two cows. Let's calves. Let's see what this does. In fact, we could just test it. We could look at it and think, oh, well, I think that's perfect. So this one, you know, you might want to do this with a different brush. A person who had good sense would use a smaller brush. If they remembered to have a smaller brush with them. Here's one. This is a different round than, I can't find my small black velvet round. So I've been using this one. Okay. Yeah, that could be, I don't want it too dark. I've got that blaze on the face masked off, I'm glad to say. Yeah, that's pretty small. You probably don't want to use your 1/2-inch brush there. So what I do want to do is lighten this as it comes down the nose. And then I want to pull a little of this on out in here. Whoa, that's a little strong paint. But since I'm working really wet, it's not a problem. So I can just... Now, what am I going to do with this calf? Because I didn't really figure out whether to keep her brown or... Let's lay some white on her back. And then, you know, we can't tell what's going on back there, but there ought to be a leg here somewhere. I just didn't draw it in, and then there's a leg that's hidden. Sorry about that. Oh, and here's another place I didn't draw in here. I moved the leg on this one over a little bit, and I forgot to put that part of the drawing in. Well, this one's got that same highlight that this one does on the head. See how much easier it is to get things dark enough when you've already got a strong dark in the picture? This really helps my judgment here. I would work a little too light if I didn't have this. Now this one's got, if you want to actually do what's here, this one has got a little bit more reddish tone in it, but I'm not going to bother with that because I don't think it'll do anything for the picture. Now, if this was my calf and he was one of my favorites, then maybe I would want it to look like him, but here, okay. Well, this whole area needs to get dark. In fact, this whole area needs to get pretty dark. Well, here's the thing. I want to paint behind the... Oh, there is masking here. I don't have to do anything careful here. There's masking there. And so this is not going to run into the other color. So I've got a little white barrier. There's going to be a little white barrier there. I wanted this to... Okay, here's the thing. When you want to soften an edge with a round brush, squeeze that sucker out really a lot because it's hiding a lot more water inside it. Whoops. Well, I took too much out. I'm just going to touch the tip down in the water. There we go. Okay. We're going to fade that this way, because there is this light area on the back. And then right along here, and you could draw it if you wanted, right along here, you can see again that hip bone that sticks way up on these cattle. I guess that's why we don't put saddles on them. It just wouldn't work out, would it? Well, we don't generally put saddles on them. So That's going to be a highlighted area. And then this area right down here is kind of just a light brown, kind of a cream. I might just paint this whole area kind of a cream to start out with, and then come back. You know what? I'm going to let that dry first. Okay, let's see. Oh, well, let's come back to her. We have got this mixture that we had before. Let's see how strong it is. I want to darken some of these areas. For instance, there's a little bit of shading right in through here. And then I'm going to soften that edge. Try to. I don't do too well with a round brush. Let's strengthen that. And then maybe use the flat. That'll do. We're going to put 3 layers of browns on this. So here, yeah, there is a shoulder. Coming up right along here. So you got a little bit of a tummy right there. So again, we want the darkest part of that to be right here. You know, one of the problems is that my mixture is pretty thin, and so it doesn't fade out that easily. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to let that set there a little while we do some other places. Here's a little dark place here too, and I'm going ahead and putting a lot of color up there. There's a little dark place right down here, and there's a pretty strong shadow right here on the inside of this shoulder. Okay, let's see what we can do with those now. So again, I'd rather bleed too much water off of here than not enough, because I can always put more water back on. Yeah, it's just easier to do with a round brush. Did you see I went back and squeeze it a little bit more. So, kind of wick both sides off of there. Oh, well, I didn't do this one right. You know what? This goes all the way up to here. That we've got a pretty dark area. Like that. Okay, so we'll have to come back to that in a minute. Let's try these other 2. Yeah, okay. Maybe I don't even have to rinse this. I might have to turn it this way, because my brush is in my own way of seeing what I was doing. Squeeze it out a little more and just gently coax it. I believe that's going to have a stronger shadow eventually. Well, let's do this spot. So then I'm going to squeeze it all the way out, and I'm just going to talk to it gently. Okay. That's pretty good. This is a little bit awkward right there. I don't think that's quite right. Maybe we'll come back and work on that some more later. So let's get these legs. And here's one of the things I'd like for you to notice. There's some reflected light on both sides of the leg. And so it's the darkest right in the middle of the leg. And see, that's not near dark enough. We're going to punch it up a whole bunch the next time around. I don't even think I'll bother with softening that. So, you know what? I think I'm going to add a little red in there, get this a little stronger, and come up in here. Is that dry? Yeah. Come up in here. And you can see the shape that I'm making. Just a little lighter around the eyes, just like the big one's gonna be. Believe it or not, the big one's gonna be. It looks more like Bambi. Oh, okay, I didn't use my round brush. So I'm gonna milk that off of there, and I'm going to soften that edge, and I'm going to use the other corner of my brush and soften this edge. Okay. And I'll put a nose on it. Okay, so you can see it beginning to have some shape. I think for the shadows on it, on the white, maybe I'll use the gray. Actually, I just picked up another, well, it's still just a gray. What I want is I want this to be really, really weak. And I'm going to put a little bit of a shadow right here. Yeah, put some shadow right here on the whole area. See, it needed that. And there's a little bit of shadow right here. Not where I expected it to be, exactly. That's almost too weak. Yeah, that is too weak. Let's pick up a little, see right here. You know, this, one of the things that I like about these plates, especially the ones that this Robax guy makes now, is that he's making them out of this PVC-like stuff, and it will really, once you wash it out when you first get it, see, this one's got a gloss, and things bubble up. It does. It will lay down and the paint dry on it like that, but I really prefer these. And by the way, they clean up great with our magic eraser. So the thing is that, see, I've got a choice here of how strong of a paint I want to pick up. And if I'm doing some little delicate thing, I can just pick it right up off of here. Or I can come over here, see that's a little different color. Or right there, I would pick up a little stronger paint. So I've got all these choices from this dried paint. It's really great to work with when you're doing detail. Like the detail right here. Yeah, that's not too bad. Let's see what else we can do with this face. It's still kind of wet. Well, this could get darker. This is not dark enough. There's a shadow in under here. And then this chin has got, it's just looks like darker markings on it, or it's the direction the hair grows or something. But there's a darker area on the chin. Now, I don't know that I've got enough of everything in there that I need by any means. In fact, I'm sure I don't. But that's a better start on that. We've got a better start here. Okay, so we're back to the burnt umber. Oh, well, that doesn't look. That looks like it's got a lot of red in it. I guess it doesn't, though. So, Daniel Smith's burnt umber is redder than some of the brands. Okay, let's get this wetter. I want this to just flow in here. Okay, it's not bad. So I think that I'm ready to pull this grass up. Be right back. So, by the way, I just dried this, and your paper should always be like really miserably dry before you pull the masking up. And this is a rubber cement pickup. And when you're using PBO or one of these really fine, I'll just get rid of that. I didn't want that anyway. One of these really fine, oh, that's going to look good. One of these really fine masking fluids, not the thick stuff. A rubber cement pickup is just a huge advantage. You just almost can't get it up any other way. Now I'm going to leave all the masking that's on the little ones over here. Oh, that's just a relief to see that. Now, I could take this up too. I was thinking about it. I do want to take up what's here on the face. Because, see, that's too light. Just like, let's see, does that show up? Yeah. Just like on the face of this one, everything's too light. So let's give both of those a little bit of color. So right here, we're just going to give it a pale bit of wash right there. There we go, like that. And then over here, we need a pale, grayish, brownish, something. I just mix a little something right there. Okay, let's see what this does. That could have a little pink in it, you know. Put that in later. Okay. I can live with that. Oh, I forgot to pull this up off the horns. I don't want to pull it up off the horns, not till this back here is painted. Never mind. Boy, that was close. Okay. I really do have an uneven application right in here. Now, one of the great things about burnt umber, I think I mentioned this before, one of the great things about burnt umber is that it comes up real easily. One of the bad things about burnt umber is that it comes up real easily. So, it just depends what you wanted. I'm just barely, oops, barely touching that. Okay, that'll be better when that dries. Because we're going to work on that. But for the rest of today, we're going to finish off this little calf, and then I think you'll know how to finish these two because you're going to do the same thing, but with this other color. So I'm going to use a little more of the red and more of the burnt umber. I think a little more burnt umber. You know, I'm just really guessing here. Let's see what it looks like. So the thing is, if I'm going to try it out somewhere, why not try it out in the darkest part of the nose where I can hide it if I don't like it? Oh, well, I like it. So, we're going to come in. I'll point to this in a minute. I need to do it first. Okay, and we want to make a soft edge there. It really does remind me of a cartoon of Bambi. Maybe it'll get better. See, we can just soften that a little bit. I think that's going to work. You know, I think I need a little more color in some other places. I think I need a little more color right there. A little bit right there. You know, you see I'm doing these little detailed areas. You don't have to get that detailed. I want just burnt umber on the nose, and I may actually put some gray on top of that later. I must not have washed my brush out good because this looks like the same color as that. We'll see. We'll figure it out later. So I'm seeing a shape there that I'm kind of correcting. They really have kind of knobby looking joints. So do that. Maybe soften a couple of edges. If you soften no edges at all, it might still work out. Oop. I don't think I got enough color there. Right up there. There. So again, you're just bleeding that extra water off the brush. These are tiny areas, especially here on the legs. Oops. Now she's got a mole on her face, a beauty mark. This is going on pretty strong. See how she's beginning to really pop now? We'll put the eyes in next week. I think the overall calf is going to go, I'm going to go a little bit darker with it. Because that's too sculpted. And I've got a place right there that's bothering me. Oh, down here. I'm working down here. Yep, that's too sculpted. But you see how it's popping? We could use a little more gray. Right in there where, see there's a shadow along here. Then it doesn't just stop there at the white. It needs a little shape right down here. Next painting we're going to do is a lighthouse, because we're going to practice on shadows, on seeing shadows. Okay, I'm good there. You know, this needs more shaping, so on and so forth. So I think y'all can finish those calves up. That you just need to get some of the dark places darker. I wouldn't put a bunch of little bitty dab things on this, but you can. I won't fuss at you. You know, we could have masked that little weed out right there. That's kind of cute. Could have masked a couple of weeds. Oh well. So, we've got a lot more shaping to do here on the mouth. We've got shaping to do in this cow's head, darks and lifting. We've got to work on the horns. I think that's enough for this week. If you finish the calves up and you get this far on the cow and then stop, please. Okay? And I'll see y'all next week. It looks like a snow scene, doesn't it? Okay, bye.